There's a lot of Floyd Mayweather hate going around. Some of it is justified and entails things I would agree with. For example, with his burning money and Instagramming pictures of himself being sponge bathed, I'd agree. None of that did good for his public relations. A lot of these music artists and celebrities overly consumed with money is getting old. It's extremely superficial and empty, and lots of people are starting to move on from that. Other than that, Mayweather is an undefeated champion, and the disrespect he's getting is getting way out of pocket. No, you don't have to love the guy, but I don't like unfairness and I don't like irrational thinking that gets out of control. A lot of the Mayweather hate has been irrational and unfair. When people work hard and achieve things, I hate when haters think crazily and stand in the way. Just being objective, here are some of the areas in which Mayweather is unfairly targeted. If these Mayweather-hating entities were really trying to put a stop to domestic violence and bring attention to it, I'd be all for it. Nobody condones domestic violence. However, that's not exactly what's happening here. These feminist groups work with other groups and operate as part of an agenda, and they are very selective in who they choose to make the poster boy of domestic violence. They know what they're doing, who they're doing it to, and why. With that said, Floyd Mayweather isn't the first boxer with a history of domestic abuse. On a side note, I will say on record that no one really knows any of the details of either of these cases, if there was compensation involved, etc. Nowadays, people hear things on TV and then they go ahead and form opinions, but I'll save all of that for another vlog entirely. Anyway, aside from Mayweather, there are scores of legendary boxers and several other athletes with a history of domestic abuse. The list doesn't stop with just athletes. We're talking about John Lennon, Sylvester Stallone, Josh Brolin, to name a few. Many women crack this list too. If you really wanted to go there, it entails a lot. Anyway, Michelle Beadle in particular was desperately trying to make herself some sort of heroine for domestic violence awareness, but she was completely mired in hypocrisy, inconsistencies, and double standards. For example, upon one of Floyd's victories, she used the boxing platform, The Fighting Game on HBO, as a soapbox to trash Floyd Mayweather about his domestic violence cases. It was truly a disgrace. And the irony and hypocrisy was that she was speaking about it alongside two men who had a history with domestic violence themselves. The whole thing was weird, forced, and just wrong. Then Beadle, trying to launch a complete shutout of Floyd for like the rest of his life and in everything he does, she rallied against Triple H and the WWE just because he congratulated Floyd in a tweet. The WWE was already full of men who once had domestic violence issues, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, to name a few. But because Triple H sent a friendly Mayweather tweet, she's denouncing any dealings with the WWE? This is the anti-Mayweather complete lunacy we've been inundated with. Make no mistake, they're not really after domestic abuse. That would be walking down a very slippery slope. It includes way too many people they know they do not want to touch. They're after Floyd Mayweather and his legacy. They need something to inject into the conversation other than the fact that he's an undefeated champion and no one can touch him. So you will continuously see him splattered in the news media for domestic abuse, recycled and respun over and over again for a long time to come. A lot of Pacquiao love was the progenitor to a lot of Mayweather hate. People are always just irrational like that. If you loved the Beatles, you hated the Stones. If you loved Coke, you hate Pepsi, and so on. However, regarding Mayweather and Pacquiao, the uncomfortable and unpopular truth is it was never an equal who'd you rather issue at all. Pacquiao has done very well, but he was never as good as Mayweather. Mayweather was always in a league of his own, just nobody wanted to believe it. Before their fight, even though both camps were guilty of delaying the fight because they didn't agree on the purse and Pacquiao didn't want to take a drug test, which really shouldn't have been a big deal, everyone only singled out and blamed Mayweather. In 2010, I ran a popular boxing hub before I got click-bombed. Another topic entirely, but I predicted exactly what happened in the Mayweather-Pacquiao matchup. It didn't matter when they fought, the result would be similar. Pacquiao would be the aggressor, and Mayweather would fight defensively. He's the bigger fighter with the longer reach, and he kept Pacquiao at bay while touching him up with jabs all night. Surprisingly, Pacquiao and Roach didn't even have a plan or strategy. They didn't do anything. They walked right into fighting Mayweather's fight toward a snooze fest. Even Madonna fared much better in creating an unusual situation for Mayweather to contend with. Regardless, Pacquiao love has oddly created some Mayweather hate, and the irony in that is it shouldn't have. Pacquiao's career peak rival was Marquez, not Mayweather. So again, ironically, a lot of the Pacquiao love that created Mayweather hate was and will always be irrational. The Ronda Rousey conversation is extremely annoying for a zillion reasons. Floyd Mayweather is a male boxing champion. Ronda Rousey is a female UFC champion. Why did people keep injecting this idiotic matchup into discussion? Who was behind it? I know that Dana White and some UFC fighters call out boxers to try to get attention to the sport, but this one was just very, very stupid. Leave Mayweather out of your mouth. Ronda Rousey should worry about Cyborg, who she's been ducking while riding UFC poster girl status, and stop instigating a dumb fantasy fight for blog attention and headlines for a fight that will never happen. Matching Floyd Mayweather up with this girl with all the pundits feeding it and suggesting Rousey would win is just more media idiocy and disrespect to an undefeated sitting champion. It's madness and stupidity. Excuses, excuses, excuses. I have to say, the sports media aren't the main ones guilty of this. It's all of you out there in the blogosphere. Mayweather fought an impressive number of world champions and dispatched them all. However, never have I heard so many excuses as to who really won this and why he won that. It's really sickening. I'm just a realist. It was plain to see. Mayweather outclassed the vast majority of who he fought. It doesn't hurt me personally to just admit that. Still, you hear people complaining, whining, and making excuses. Why the hate? One of his main criticisms is that his defensive style equates to boring, uneventful fights. This is what people who don't understand the sport of boxing just don't get. It's not exactly Mayweather's fault. He's fighting his fight, and it's up to the brawling contenders to try to figure something out, open him up, and let loose. Only they just couldn't. So far, no one's been able to do it. Have some of Mayweather's fights been lackluster? Sure, some of them have, because Mayweather has a winning formula. He directs the pace, and the contenders didn't have an answer for it. They couldn't find him, and they couldn't beat him up. So every fight that Mayweather fights, and he smacks them up on points, and outpoints them and out-counterpunches them all night, and the fight is boring, they blame Mayweather, Mayweather, Mayweather. Not realizing their guy didn't do it, and it was up to him to unseat the undefeated champion and knock him down. Didn't happen. Am I a raging Mayweather fan? No, I'm not. However, I'm a realist, a boxing enthusiast, and I give credit where it's due, and at least I always try to. Again, I also hate irrational thinking and haters. Kind of like the days of Jack Johnson. Mayweather is a champ everyone loves to hate, and if you don't like him, that's fine. Just stop trying to deny him of what he's due in terms of respect and legacy. When it comes to the boxing field, he's cleared the board. Deal with it and move on. So, that's my 2 cents. Thank you for watching this episode of Drewhead Blogs, where you get honest blogs and vlogs delivering the sometimes uncomfortable and unpopular truth.